Well, I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. What is Donald Trump's campaign about? He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell. If you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, that's probably, you got a problem. You need to do some self-evaluation. Because what's not to like? He is as good a man as God ever created. He said some of the most incredibly heartfelt things that anybody could ever say to me. He's the nicest person I think I've ever met in politics. This is a defining moment in the future of the Republican Party. We have to reject this demagoguery, and if we don't reject Donald Trump, we've lost the moral authority, in my view, to govern this great nation.
The new ad from the group, Republican Voters Against Trump. The ad is set to run on Fox News in Charlotte, North Carolina, Washington, D.C., Greenville, South Carolina. That's Lindsey Graham's home state. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It's Monday, June 15th. With us, we have White House reporter for the Associated Press, Jonathan Lemire, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation and president of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent and host of KCDC on MSNBC on Sunday nights, Casey Hunt, and political reporter for The Washington Post and MSNBC political analyst Robert Costa. He is the moderator of Washington Week on PBS. And we have a lot to cover this morning. Unrest in Atlanta this morning after the fatal police-involved shooting of a black man in the parking lot of a Wendy's restaurant. One officer has been fired, another on administrative duty. Plus, a spike in coronavirus cases in several states, Arizona, Texas, and Florida, are all reporting their highest confirmed number of cases yet. And amid criticism, President Trump moves the date of his Tulsa rally from Juneteenth to June 20th, quote, out of respect for the occasion.
So, Casey Hunt, you work Capitol Hill. You think there may be a little bit of discomfort in the Lindsey Graham camp this morning? I mean, the ad really makes every argument that Joe Biden, his campaign team, would ever want to make, and they make it from one of Donald Trump's closest allies on Capitol Hill.
His own voice.
Yeah, and in a very, I mean, you can hear the sincerity in Lindsey Graham's voice. And having covered him, you know, when I first started covering Capitol Hill, Joe Biden was actually still in the Senate. And he, as Lindsey Graham lays out there, has always been one of the most well-liked and personally respected people in Washington. And, you know, one of the things that I think the Biden campaign has done well, and we obviously talked a lot throughout the primary about the very many doubts about how things were going, and there was a lot of hand-wringing and hemming and hawing, but they have been running all the way along with this message of basic decency. I mean, that is the message that the campaign is putting at the forefront. They are saying we're going to return to normalcy and decency. And that lines right up with the person that their candidate actually is. And you can't ask for anything else than that if you're trying to get someone elected, if you're a campaign official trying to work on someone's behalf. And, you know, Joe, Lindsey Graham's situation is pretty interesting. I mean, you know, I'm skeptical that any Democrat could win in South Carolina in that Senate race. But he tacked so close to President Trump over the course of the last year because he was afraid of this primary. And people are really turning against the president here in the final months of this campaign. And he actually does have a credible Democratic challenger in Jamie Harrison, who's a former aide to Jim Clyburn. So, you know, we haven't heard Lindsey Graham, you know, talk about this necessarily, but there have been some things already that he has said that have caught my eye in terms of, you know, whether he's politically shifting here. So, you know, it's a very interesting ad for a lot of reasons.
And Bob Costa, the Trump campaign has spent so much money trying to vilify Joe Biden and are going off of the script of 2016, where they knew they had an unpopular candidate who wasn't liked by a majority of people, wasn't respected by even close to a majority of people, was seen as honest and not trustworthy by the overwhelming majority of Americans. So they decided to destroy Hillary Clinton, who proved to be an easier target than Joe Biden is proving to be right now. They understand they have to destroy Joe Biden. It may not be as simple this year to destroy their opponent as it was 4 years ago.
That's exactly right, Joe. And it's because the fight now for the Trump campaign is not just against the Biden campaign. It's also against that group of Never Trump Republicans, the Lincoln Project. What you see here with this Lindsey Graham ad is an attempt to soften President Trump's support among traditional Republican voters. Because you have a traditional Republican, a conservative in Lindsey Graham, there's not an expectation that Jamie Harrison, the Democrat in South Carolina, is somehow going to get a sudden lift. He's a strong candidate for the Democrats in the South. Still a tough race, still a tough state for the Democrats. But the Democrats look at the map, and they look at not just South Carolina, but states like Georgia and Texas and Florida. And they think if some Republicans can either stay home, maybe think about voting for Joe Biden, that this entire map could change. And they see the numbers changing in many of the polls.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.